Last time you were in the hospital, what was the reason? I tried to take my own life. I have been struggling mentally for a long time, and having been messed about by the people that were supposed to help me to access therapy, I felt like I'd just been left to deal with it, and couldn't see a way out. That and other things I've been dealing with recently. I now have a great mental health team that are putting me on the right track. But I am angry that the action was only taken after I got to breaking point. It's not like I didn't want help. I just wasn't getting it. Carpal tunnel moved from my wrist, to my elbow, to shoulders, to my back, to my hips, to my jaw, and I was in pain. They said that it was normal for it to do that. For 3 months after my shoulder was fucked up and I couldn't sleep on my side without it being worse. A doctor didn't even see me, just the nurse. And when I cried because I was frustrated from not feeling heard, she scoffed and pointed out that I was crying. Thanks American Healthcare. My OD to fentanyl and while dying. Why vomit ended up in my lungs like how Jimi Hendrix died. I got pneumonia from it and was in pain 10 days I was there. God, all I need is a good woman to get off the drugs. I hate him and don't even want to get high. I'm sensitive and require love, but well, still beat anyone ass who fucks war. M7 family or tails advantage of my lifestyle choice, which is loving your enemy. I broke my foot in 2 places while running through my house in the morning getting ready for work. Only I didn't know it was broken and I drove an hour in traffic to work, stood on it for 3 hours until someone else got there, then drove 40 minutes home, walked 4 blocks home from my parking spot and climbed up 3 flights of stairs. I was literally hallucinating from pain by the time I finally got to the hospital. Cut myself with a very sharp knife when I was cutting green bell peppers. I was bleeding non-stop. Our kitchen looked like I murdered somebody. I needed 2 stitches. I was joking to my boyfriend prior to cooking that I wanted red bell peppers, but we were all out of them, so green ones had to make do unless we would dye them red. Yesterday, my girlfriend's Nana passed. We all loved her dearly, and the fact that not only her husband and son, but her grandkids friends who she has been so influential to, and even multiple neighbors came to say goodbye. She was so easy to love and we're gonna miss her a lot. Blood transfusion 9 pints in total. Iron was so low that my doctor and 2 specialists were seriously concerned as to how I was still alive when my only symptoms were a bruise, admittedly a large one, and slight fatigue. I was really hoping for vampire powers but no luck. Pancreatitis and alcohol detox. Life slowly fell apart. AMD in 2017 I lost my wife, ability TLC my daughter. Just hit 6 years sober this month and have my family and wife back along with my same job. Pancreatitis was extremely painful. I was there a good 5 days. Appendicitis. Waited till the last hour, metaphorically speaking. 36 hours from first sign of pain till I caved in. That when I awoke the surgeon was shocked it didn't burst. But I also had to have it done via open surgery, which made the recovery time a lot more. Tore some connective tissue in my ribs at the gym and it got so painful I went to the ER. After a few scans they came in and were like, yeah, that'll heal up. In other news, you have a huge lesion in your chest and we're connecting you to oncology. Severe cramping from an incarcerated umbilical hernia. Admitted to the ER, a week later I walked out with the hernia repaired, and a much flatter abdomen. Not counting all the excess skin due to the weight loss I had due to my previous weight loss. I had my appendix in my stomach. It was supposed to be taken out 4 years ago, but they only drained out the pus and they told me to come back, but my dad never brought me back, so it filled up with pus last year in October. Then I got it taken out. Referred to the ER because urgent care didn't know if a sinus infection was aggravating my trigeminal neuralgia or if I was stroking out, popping an aneurysm. Overnight stay was 2018, 4 days for birth. C-section, recovery from infection. Just physically in a hospital visiting my best friend while she was staying in a hospital for myself 8 or 9 years ago when I got my tubes taken out because I never wanted kids. I was basically in and out within less than half a day. Herniated L4 L5 with compression on my S1. Could barely walk. 3 months later, 3 cortisone shots later and a shitload of daily physical therapy and I can walk and work in just about everything I could do before. Vertigo. I literally couldn't stand. Turns out some crystals had gotten lodged in my inner ear, meaning my body just couldn't tell what was going on. Once cleared I could stand just fine. Nearly instant 100 recovery. Got a stomach bug that was so bad I threw up at least 15 times within 12 hours. Pulled muscles in my chest so it felt like I was having a heart attack every time I took a breath, and I was dangerously low on fluids. A scheduled surgery to remove my fallopian tubes. They found a 10 cm cyst on my left ovary, so they had to yank that too. Doc said it had probably been there since puberty and she was surprised it hadn't burst. I had a fever of the 103. I didn't know I'd started to hallucinate until I was telling my doctor about awesome movie Scooby-Doo Meets the Smurfs I'd watched and he pointed out there was no TV in my room. Top surgery. I'm FTM and April 17th of this year, I underwent surgical gender-affirming care to reshape my chest to be more masculine. The results are great and I've never been happier with my body. I found my 6-year-old son unresponsive. He almost died from respiratory failure. It's medically fragile and a sinus infection almost took him out. I spent the hospital stay with him. He's doing great now. Grandpa forgot to take his meds and therefore lost feeling in one of his legs. We thought it was a medical emergency and therefore we got him to the hospital, but you know sometimes you forget meds. Having a baby. Water broke 5 weeks early and I lost so much fluid that we had to have a C-section. Went back to visit baby in the NICU for 2 weeks and then she got to come home. Smiley face. I was just at the hospital a few times with my child that needed surgery. But for me, it was after a car rear-ended me at 70 miles per hour while I was at a dead stop in traffic on the highway. Grippy socks vacation for bipolar mixed episode. Tested positive for COVID on my way and so was in my own room off the psych floor with a robot camera watching me 24/7. What a ride! Had 3 family members in at the same time for different reasons. My dad was in for gallstones, my mom was in for cancer treatment, and my brother was getting a heart transplant. My job lol. I'm a nurse. Seriously though, had cataract surgery a few weeks ago, awaiting round 2 at the end of the month with much anticipation. Imbalanced vision sucks lol. Severe preeclampsia. Went in for a routine check, wasn't allowed to leave for a month. Came out with a healthy son though. Shout out to the team at St. Thomas Hospital in London. Suspected heart attack. PSA have a suspected heart attack, arrive in an ambulance no waiting. On the other hand, you'll get a big bill, which will give you a heart attack. Dog bite. Well, scrape really. I had to separate 2 male dogs when their hormones got a little heated. Just a precaution and the big surprise is that the visit was covered. Fusion of 2 more vertebrae in my lower back. I have so much metal on my spine, I'm almost bionic still in constant pain but I don't want any more surgeries. 7 is enough. Colonoscopy. Preventative only and no unpleasant results. Not a fun process but, as a single parent I have to be future thinking and not neglect my responsibilities. My friend had heart problems. But I could have just told him that his body was changing from an active lifestyle to a sedentary lifestyle. BTW girlfriend changed him. The last time I was in the hospital was to have gallbladder surgery. I was supposed to have my surgery early in the morning but the doctor was not able to get. I saw a look-alike of one of the men who sexually abused me and tried to kill me. I as usual ended up unconscious with the doctors having to try to keep me alive. Found out I have PVCs and they get worse with stimulation. Had an anxiety attack and could literally see my extra flutter beat on the surface of my chest. Checked myself in for a psychiatric hold for suicidal thoughts. Got sent home the next day due to overcrowding and not actively trying to kill myself. Motorbike accident after a stray dog crossed the road in the wrong moment. I still remember the sound of bones and teeth shattering in my head. After 9 months of gradually worsening gallbladder attacks, finally one went on for days. And I had my gallbladder removed 6 years ago. I was septic because my gallbladder tried to kill me. Incidentally, they found a brain tumor the size of a golf ball. It's been a fun year. When I got hit by a car in 2020. Fortunately, my injuries were so minor that I was out in a few hours fully recovered within a week. Not the hospital but my university health center after I had a panic attack. I should have gone to the ER. 0-10 do not recommend. Birth of my daughter. And a month stay in the NICU because she was 7 weeks early. Turned 1 last month and is doing wonderfully. Open heart surgery. Had a heart valve replaced due to an infection, on the table for 4.5 hours. Very painful, and long recovery. The last time I remember being in an actual hospital was to give my neighbor some clothes and his dentures that he left at home. Head injury. Dropped a 30-pound solid metal tool on the center top of my head while building a fence. The feeling still haunts me. Surgery last week. 2 weeks before that I was in AA getting my head glued after a workplace accident badly cut my scalp. My gallbladder ruptured and tried killing me. 3 emergency surgeries and a week-long inpatient stay later, I'm still here lol. My son was very sick, with some virus I had never heard of before, that attacked a part of his stomach after a stomach bug. Allergies. I lived in a place for 22 months before I realized I had allergies unique to that location. It sucked bruise, I never go, but I have a family member who goes often. I call for an ambulance much more often than ordering takeout. Spilled the suicidal beans to my at the time occupational therapist and she told my parents to take me to the ER. I got mononucleosis. I'll never take being able to swallow without excruciating pain for granted again. Ignored a UTI for a month. Spread in my kidneys and in my bloodstream. Always pee after sex, kids. Mine's a bit unusual. Spent 4 days on 4 antibiotics after being bitten by a brown recluse spider. My dirt bike skills were rusty. But hey, at least the barbed wire fence I crashed into wasn't. Lol. Last time overall? My wife giving birth to our second for me personally? Knee surgery in 2015. Day appointment pelvic ultrasound. Overnight partial hip replacement at the ripe age of 18. Bleeding from somewhere I shouldn't have been bleeding from. I'm all good, though. Thankfully. Bleeding from somewhere I shouldn't have been bleeding from. I'm all good, though. Thankfully. Coffee shop gave me regular instead of decaf. Resting heart rate of 140 and sweating buckets. Serotonin syndrome. 2021. Only time I ever called the ambulance for myself in 55 years. I was there for an excruciating 8 hours, all because that's how long the day shift is. Smiley face. Kidney stones wouldn't pass on their own. That's the worst pain I've ever experienced. Kidney stones wouldn't pass on their own. That's the worst pain I've ever experienced. Half my face was paralyzed. Fortunately it was just Bell's palsy and not a stroke. Me and some kids had a rock fight and someone threw a brick at my head. LMFAO.